Hello everyone, I'm Mark Suxford and I want to welcome you all to my new podcast called People Behind Brands, brought to you by Making Websites Better. Throughout the series, I'll be opening up my little black book of contacts where I'll be joined by an inspirational guest from the world of business, getting to the bottom of what made them so successful. In each episode, I'll be touching upon the highs and the lows that every professional has faced along the way. To never miss an episode, subscribe to our exclusive content now and follow us on our social media platforms. People Behind Brands. Life lessons from the world of business. Another day, another fantastic episode of People Behind Brands coming at you. Today's episode is all about a man who goes above and beyond for his customers, guiding them into the next step of their careers. From steering his company through testing times in lockdown to once appearing on top of the pops, the infectious Mr. Gerard of Lighthouse personnel is the man you need to speak to if you're looking for your next role in Essex or Suffolk. Let's get amongst it.
Welcome along to the podcast. A pleasure to have you with us today. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, bit strange times, but all right. Yeah, getting there, I think. Good to see that things are picking up again. So all good.
Yeah, very much so. I think, how many times is it that we've crossed paths now? It must be at least 3 or 4 times before and during the pandemic as well when I was looking for a job.
Yeah.
So at least 2 or 3 times, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, I think so. So I was really chuffed you reached out actually, because I think we've kept up with each other on LinkedIn and stuff as well, haven't we? So I was really chuffed when you reached out actually, mate. Thank you for thinking of me.
Yeah, not a problem. Again, a pleasure to have you on. So for those that don't know, Gerard is the face of Lighthouse personnel, a dedicated recruitment service generally focused on providing a long-term quality, transparent service for their clients. The firm specialises in placing office professionals within the Essex and Suffolk regions, in addition to other relevant sectors on occasion. On a personal level, Gerard has always been a wealth of knowledge and support when I have found myself looking for a new role in the past. It's that type of service that makes Lighthouse personnel one of the more desirable recruiters in the local area. So let's press on to the questions, Gerard. So you've been managing director of the firm since 2017. I mean, just sort of take us back to where it all began for you as a business owner and the story behind Lighthouse personnel.
Cool. Thank you for everything you said, by the way. That was actually really nice.
No problem.
I suppose I was thinking about this morning. I don't know why specifically. I know you mentioned there were some things we'd be talking about, but I was thinking of a moment that popped into my head, probably where kind of my passion for what I do came from. And that was when I left college, I left after year one. I dropped out after year one and was looking for a job. And I was turning up in tracksuits and hoodie to TK Maxx, and they were like, "Have you got any questions?" And I was giving 1-word answers, all the proper, the proper no-go areas for interviews. And I was like, why didn't they hire me? Like, they hired my mate and I'm better than him. I've got more work experience than him. Why it's quite arrogant to say that, but I was very shocked that they didn't take me on. I thought, I've got to get a Christmas temp job at TK Maxx. And my brother stepped in and said, come work for this call centre. I know it's a really tough interview process. It was a 3-stage process. It was quite a well-respected one. It wasn't a stack 'em high, sell 'em cheap. It was a nice one, really good employee benefits. They really looked after you. So it was quite a challenge. And my brother said to me, I'm going to buy you a suit. So I didn't have a suit. If you get the job, I will pay for the suit. It's all yours. You can have it. And if you don't get it, you've got to pay me back, because he got a referral bonus if I got it. So he incentivized me. He sat with me for 2 hours. He coached me on all the, this, you need to look at things you've done before and match them up to the job description. And these are the things they're looking for. So how can you prove you've done this? It was more than 2 hours. And it was over 2 or 3 days. And he really got me to the level of this little, scruffy lad going in, not having a clue, to going along and, got the job and did really well, moved into apprenticeships, then healthcare. Very reluctant to get into recruitment, but always liked helping people, hence the apprenticeship thing and apprenticeship recruitment, and then healthcare temp staffing. And people were always saying, get into recruitment, get into permanent recruitment, you can really go. I was like, I just don't want to do it. Like, it's not, but I always wanted to do my own thing. And had some time off work because of an injury, and said to my wife, I need to do this. I need to do my own thing. And she said, if you can do a business plan and stuff, tell me what you're thinking and come back to me and go for it. And I said, within 24 hours, I'd written the whole thing, because I'd always known how I'd do it, what I'd do, where to go. I knew what to do. I'd run businesses for people before, so I knew. And then it was like just coming up with the idea and tweaking it. And I wanted to do something where we could help people like I was back when I was, but not apprenticeships, because people get into that situation where they haven't been looking for a job for years, or they've fallen into a job and, they haven't really had interview prep and practice. So to really change that culture of recruitment is all about getting a bum on a seat as quickly as possible and actually focus on getting it right long term. So Lighthouse was formed. Lighthouse because 3 reasons. 1, because myself and my wife's faith. 1, because of guiding people in the right direction on their career journey. And then the final one is because I grew up near a lighthouse in sunny old Harwich, funny enough. So that's the long story, mate. but you're annoyed you asked now.
It sounds like that, from what you said about your brother there, your wife and everything else, it sounds like that Lighthouse is actually kind of like a bit of a family oriented business in a way. It kind of got you on the path as well. So just talk to us a little bit more about the sort of family element of your life, but also for the company as well.
Definitely. I mean, I always desired or enjoyed more working in a family run environment. I've done a lot of research and kind of reading recently. There's a really good book by the guy who runs Netflix, actually, and Erin Mayer is the lady's name, about the culture at Netflix. And it's actually moving away from that family thing and having more of a professional sports team, because families bring their own baggage as well as good stuff. And it is great. But actually a professional sports team, you bring in people that are really, proud of what they do, really want to be successful, and you surround each other and you help each other out like a team. So the family thing is always going to be there, because as you know, it's who we are, it's in the core, but also trying to bring in this professional sports element of it, where we're all trying to be successful, doing it in the right way and egging each other on, but with a little bit of those family values thrown in there as well. So perhaps a bit of a hybrid, maybe.
Yeah. So according to your LinkedIn profile, the name behind Lighthouse Personnel, we just touched upon it there, but is to represent guiding customers in the right direction on their recruitment journey. Because you grew up next to a lighthouse, as you just mentioned there. So tell us about some of the achievements, but also the challenges that have shaped the company to where it is today.
Cool. I mean, achievements and challenges. There's been some big things. I mean, challenges, come from everyday things to, even though we always want to get it right. And the way we do that is through honesty, transparency, and expectation management. That's the plan. You can never guarantee to get it right, because your interpretation of a job is different to a client's interpretation of a job is different to a candidate's. But if you're honest and transparent, then our beliefs are you are more likely going to get it right if you're being transparent about the good, the bad, and the ugly. All of it, cover it all. Don't skim over and sell. But there have been times where we've got it wrong. We've looked back and we've gone, right, what could we have done before to make it so that we get that one right? We now have a form that we use that's specifically around candidate expectations. We've put questions on there that candidates answer, that perhaps where a candidate's fallen by the wayside before, that question will answer that problem. So the client can then make their own assumptions on that from the start. In terms of successes, we grew very rapidly. Unfortunately, we've taken a step backwards, but we're back on that path now. But I think most business have over the pandemic. We've done what we can. When the pandemic hit, people seem, I had some messages from recruiters from some ideas that we had to try and sort of get through it. And they were saying, oh, you've had a really good business idea there. And that was great. Because we offered to write CVs for people for free when the pandemic first hit. And I wrote 80 CVs for people over a 2-week period. I spent 2 hours on each CV. So I did about, there was 40-hour weeks that I was doing full on CV writing to just give back for free. And people saying, what a genius idea, that's going to do you really good. And I was like, it wasn't an idea. I just, I was like, I can't work. I've got this time. What can I do? How can I use my skills when everyone is in the same boat as I am? The one thing I haven't got to worry about is my CV, because I feel pretty proud of my CV, but I can help with people with that bit. And And in the end, it did us the world of good. You know, we had people coming back to us after the pandemic, and people still ask me about it now. That was huge for us. And since the pandemic, we haven't had to do any sales. It's all our business has been referrals or repeat, purely off the back of, you know, doing well in the pandemic. And then the other key achievement for me is probably the speed interview day and the workshops we did with the Debenhams employees who were made redundant. We were invited in by a local I don't know how you call it, the local bid, who are all about supporting the town centre and bringing people in and enhancing that experience. And they collaborated with us, and you know, we did some stuff with them, which was a big one. Other than the fact that we've survived the pandemic and Brexit, which is a big achievement in itself. So, you know, and the feedback we've had and reviews we've had, Mark, have been excellent. So I'm really pleased of what we've established. It's now time for us to push on again and really get back on it over the next few months.
Yeah, so the recent pandemic has caused many people to be searching for jobs, with many businesses making so many staff redundant. I mean, from what you're saying there, it's kind of like the COVID and the pandemic itself has been the making of Lighthouse person who went away, and also for you. But how did COVID-19 impact the company, but also the clients you were working with, to find new roles quickly?
Oh, I mean, the initial shock was huge. You know, I remember the week so well. I mean, it feels like it was yesterday, but it also feels like it was 20 years ago at the same time. You know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? But I remember being in, and it was a case of, you know, vacancies we had where we were recruiting for people just, you know, went one after the other. You know, we sat there for an hour or whatever, and it's, hi, we're not going to recruit anymore, we're putting on hold. Hi, we're not going to recruit anymore, we're putting on hold. Hi, we're not going to recruit anymore. So all our jobs was gone, all our work was taken away. The other thing that happened was a few of the people that we had placed into employers in the 3 months prior to that were unfortunately let go, which meant that we obviously had to pay rebates, and they were let go purely for the pandemic. But we had, you know, work we'd done that we had to pay back. It was literally damage limitations at the time, and it was like, okay, this is really tough, particularly as we were only, you know, 2 years old at the time, and we were being ambitious with growth. Every penny we were making, we were reinvesting in bringing in new people, enhancing what we were doing, you know, bringing in new service providers to enhance how we do it. So it really hit hard initially. But and we were on such a good path, so it was a real shame. But like you said, you know, there has been a lot of it that's been the making of us. I mean, a lot of reflection, a lot of chance to really sort of figure out which direction we're going in and how to add value and what we can do. But also it's been so interesting to see the market. I think the ones that really suffered, Mark, were the ones who they had been offered a job to start, let's say March, April, when the pandemic hit. So they had handed their notice in, and then their company wouldn't take them back and furlough them. And the companies they were due to start were unfortunately didn't have the opportunity anymore and had to close it off. And there were quite a few in that situations. They were the ones I really, really felt for and really wanted to help, because it was like, you know, how unfortunate can you be, really? It was, but companies have started hiring again. I think at the moment, what you've got is there's a real rush for hiring at the moment. Every recruiter you see, I think, has got a lot of jobs. There are still lots of candidates out there, but there's a lot of I think there's a lot of hesitations. I think candidates are being very picky now, which is great because they want to get it right for themselves. That's a good thing. So there's more hesitation about what they're looking for. So it's not as easy just to get people to send to a client, which you wouldn't really want to do anyway. But you're having much more detailed conversation with candidates, which is great because essentially it's how it should be. And you've got to really pull the information out of them and give them the right information. And but there is a lot more jobs. There is still a lot of people on the market. But as I say, it's matching those up. It's really, I've really noticed it picking up. And as I say, not just for us, I've seen a lot of recruitment companies saying the same thing. So it's been a real roller coaster of recruitment for, as I'm sure it has for a lot of industries, actually, to be fair. But
yeah. I think, I don't think there's been an industry that hasn't really been affected by it all, really. But yeah, you just have to roll with the punches, as they say, I suppose. But your passion for the industry has led you to set up on your own, obviously, and do things your way. Talk to us a bit more about the team that contributes to the company's USP.
So, I mean, it's all been about, bringing in people that are passionate about helping people. I've been for job interviews in the past personally I've been a top salesperson for a few companies, and I've always been a top performer in what I've done. But there's been jobs I haven't been offered, and purely because I've gone into the interview and they said to me, what motivates you? And I say, well, if you're going to ask me is it money doesn't motivate me. It's great. I want to earn bonus. I want to be profitable. I will do that, but I want to be successful, and I want to do it by helping others and by, doing a good thing, or by high customer service, or whatever it is that really represents that company well. And companies have not hired me purely on that answer and have said, look, everything we really, really liked you until you said that. And we decided, actually, that's what we look for. And in reflection, they wouldn't have been the right roles, and I wouldn't be where I am. So I'm chuffed it didn't go down that route. But I think for us, when I ask people that question, it's probably the one thing I don't want to hear, is that they are just money motivated, because I want them to earn well and I want them to be paid well. But if that's their sole focus, then what they might do is try and do everything they can to get someone to take a job, try and do everything they can to get the company to make the offer. Whereas I think that, if you've got someone who is motivated by success or by achieving or by helping others, money being put in there as another is okay. But as I say, I mean, for us, it's really about, someone that wants to make a difference as well, I suppose. Because I think the money stuff falls into play after that. And like me, as I say, money's great. I'm more than happy to work towards it. And I if there's a bonus there, I want to hit it, but it's not the sole motivator. And I think that's a big thing for us for when we're bringing in people and what we look for in people that are in the team. So.
In my opinion, from someone who has benefited from your service, Lighthouse personnel is more than just a recruitment. It welcomes those who may be struggling to find work, and equally those who are in search of a new challenge in their careers. They receive support from you and your team. The clients are there, eventually placed into work, but it gives you a real personal sense of achievement, I'd have thought, when you actually place those people into the roles that are good for them, but also the company that getting that kind of person that's going to obviously join them.
Definitely. That's one of the things I love. I mean, if you get a candidate and you say to them, you've just been offered, I've got some good news for you, the client would like to make you an offer, and they go, yes, come on, get it. There's no better feeling than that. Absolutely not. I think, it's even better than obviously when the client tells you they want you to make the offer, because at that point you've pretty much got the sale, unless there's a hiccup in there, which does happen. But the real key buzz is when a candidate says, gives you that real, you can hear it in their voice. Oh, I really, really wanted this one. This is the one I've been after. Thank you so much. The other things I've really enjoyed is, again, since the CV writing, is when people have come back to me from that and said, you know what, I've now been offered a job, or, I've decided to stay where I am, but it helped me get interviews and all the rest of it. And that's decided to maybe stay where I am. I mean, that feedback is great. And even negative feedback when it doesn't work, if it's something you can build on, or, feedback that you can work on, not just didn't like that, but, yeah, I mean, I love the sense of, trying to tweak things to make them better and finding solutions to problems if we haven't done something right. So it's always helpful, but then also being proven that what you've changed has then had an even more positive impact. So yeah, love that. Love the making the offer thing. It's something I live for, I think.
Yeah. So as you know, the aim of this podcast is to delve into the life lessons, or the highs and the lows, but also within your personal life, not just business as well. So when I was doing my research, I couldn't help but notice on your LinkedIn profile, you have a section in your About tab where you touch upon a few unique things about me. I'm just going to read them out, and you can possibly give some context to them. So starting from the top. So I was once selected to dance Gangnam Style, dressed as a Christmas pudding for Top of the Pops Christmas special. So let's talk us through that.
Oh, I was thinking, oh no, what did I write on that section? So that was really fun, actually. That was a friend of mine when we lived in London for a year. He used to get tickets for all sorts of cool things, and Top of the Pops Christmas special was definitely a highlight. And they said everyone should dress up fancy dress. There was only about 5 or 6 people that did in the whole crowd, and I was one of them, in a Christmas pudding outfit. So they asked us. It was only like a split second you're on for, but it's definitely a conversation starter. People asked me to do it. I'm like, I didn't do I wasn't very good at it. It wasn't like a stage or anything. It was me and a friend next to each other. But yeah, that was definitely a good laugh. Yeah,
it's a shame that this episode is actually audio, because I'll probably ask you to do it and then people can probably see it on video. But so the next one was, I was once the opening face of a Channel 4 series called That Will Teach 'Em.
Yeah, that was fun. I was talking about this recently because in my networking group I had to give a presentation, so I found some clips and used that. So it was a program called That Will Teach 'Em that was about kids going back into the 1960s style school, and I applied to go on it and wasn't successful. Got right the way through to the final stages, and they got in contact because it was filmed at a local school at St Joe's in Ipswich, and they said, "Do you want to be in the opening sequence?" So I said, "Oh, definitely." So I went along. They had a kid having his ear pulled. They had a girl with a couple of chemical bottles in her hand. She'd pour one into the other, and a little puff of smoke would come out. She'd done it well. And it's like, oh, look what I've done. And then I did it, and I poured it in, and then a massive puff of smoke comes out, and then it switches to me. My hair's messed up. I've got charcoal all over my face, and I'm going, oh no. And then it's like boys versus girls. Is the title screen comes up, and there's me and the girl at the front staring each other in the face, like aggressively, with the head teacher in the background with a cane, bending the cane. That was really fun. I remember on the day the like film crew enjoyed working with me because they could see I was quite a fun person to sort of have around. So they enjoyed stitching me up quite a bit. We were in the science lab, and I had my hands sort of leaning back on the desk behind me as I sort of stood up. And I just felt something on my hand. I looked around, they'd put a dead mouse from the science lab, like one that the science teachers used, on my hand. Then they took me to the matron. So she was this proper stern lady. She was one of the characters from the show, or like it was a reality TV show. So she was the matron from the show. And she was like, right, let's get you some cod liver oil. And they were like, yeah, you need this. It's really good for you. You'll like it. And they made me swallow a full teaspoon of cod liver oil, and it's the worst thing I've ever tasted in my life. So it was a good laugh.
Sounds lovely.
Really good laugh, that. Yeah.
So the final one that you had on your About tab was the one that I probably found quite interesting, actually. So when you were 12, you had 2 front teeth removed along with 2 additional molars growing above them.
Yeah.
So that left you with no front teeth for 2 years whilst your adults came through. So how was that?
Yeah.
That must have been a bit of a traumatic experience.
That was very traumatic, I think, for I'd say very traumatic. I mean, the experience itself, having your teeth done, wasn't very nice, but it was the sort of stuff at school, going through being bullied and stuff. And I mean, as a kid, there was a few features I had that weren't right, and that was one of them. And so the first few years of school were really quite tricky. And then, when things, the features that I had sort of changed, I moved to a different school and had an absolute whale of a time. I think those few years we moved away from our hometown, so I didn't have friends in the area as well. So it was all quite a challenging few years. I think those few years are for anyone really. But yeah, that was an interesting time for sure.
Do you think those early experiences of, you said there that you kind of bullied at school and stuff like that, and things weren't going as right for you. Do you think that those have kind of impacted your outlook on life as an adult and obviously as a business owner now?
Possibly. I think we've been very fortunate in the values we've been brought up with in my family. So, I mean, I've mentioned briefly about myself, my wife's faith, my brothers and sisters. It's not a big thing for them at all, but my dad still is. And so we were brought up around those values, and my brother always looked out for me and one of my brothers is a PE teacher, and he's very community orientated. He's done loads for people. He's had a real positive impact on people's lives, and we've all always wanted to help others. It's just something that's been in our core, and that would have contributed to that, certainly. But yeah, I think it would have contributed, but I think we've been very fortunate with the values that we've been brought up on, and my family that I've had around me that have all share similar focuses, really, very much so.
Yeah. So looking back on the present day now and into the future, what would you say is the master plan for you and Lighthouse personnel as life returns to some sort of normality, and in the next few years as well?
So, I mean, I was very guilty of, when we first started out, being someone that was like, recruitment's awful, dreadful, and I think it's really difficult balance, because I think it's all well and good saying that, but you've then got to really back that up by what you do. And I don't think that's fair, because you can't just say that everyone's awful. And I think there are actually some really good recruitment companies out there. When I initially started out, I was very much like, yeah, there aren't. And I think that was very, ignorant of me to think like that, because there are some really, really good ones. But we want to be a key player in changing the culture of recruitment. There are people that are very focused on doing that. And I know some who I speak with on LinkedIn regularly and, engage with. But we want to be a key player in that. And we, really want to become a real local source of, trusted people. We want to keep doing the recruitment thing, but it's not just recruitment, like you said. I mean, I think we'll be doing a page for CV review and service at some point. That won't be anything that we will make massive money out of. That'll be something that we will do to give back, but at least we'll cover our costs on it. We also plan to go into schools and colleges a little bit more again and get back to that, and offer workshops for people, more consulting on the client side. So helping clients look at their recruitment processes and how can they better them. That's something that I've always wanted to do. And I've always done when I've met with clients and consulted with them and made suggestions for their processes throughout to get the best out of candidates. Particularly when they said, oh, we're not sure on this person because they haven't showed this. Well, I've said, well, how can we get them to show that? If you like everything else about them, what can we get them to do that's going to show you whether they have or haven't got what your concern is? So we've had some interesting ones in that. We've done like Dragon's Den exercises before and stuff like that to try and get the best out of a candidate, to give them the opportunity and say, look, this is your opportunity, go for it. So that we don't just want to be, just seen as someone who literally fills jobs as quickly as possible just for the sake of it. We want to continue to provide that high value service. We want to really push on for growth now. We've got an ambitious growth plan, which is really going to come to fruition over the next few months with our hire that we're making, with the new office we're moving to, got a new website being built. And we're going to keep pushing on that. And be ambitious, and hopefully, over the next 3 years, really take it to the next step, really, and continue, building, bringing in people that have those values that I mentioned about. So, yeah,
I think when I look at Lighthouse personnel from an outsider's point of view, it is that kind of that culture you mentioned. I think that really does shine through, and I think it's the passion that obviously you give to the people that you speak to. Not, I know I've spoken to you a lot over the last few years in terms of jobs, but I think you do that for quite a lot of people out there, and everyone out there. So it's nice to see, and I don't think there is a lot of recruiters out there that probably have that same level of passion and go above and beyond for their clients, I suppose.
There's been people that have said, when I've spoken to candidates, they said, I really feel like you wanted the best for me. Not just, you didn't just want to get the job out of me. And I've had really positive reviews from candidates who we actually turned down for a position or said, look, we don't think it's right for you. But the thing is they know that it's got to be right all round. That's the thing. Yeah. I think people really do appreciate the honesty. They certainly don't appreciate being ghosted and not told why. I think it's so much easier. Initially, I remember being in the industry and being scared to say, like, sorry, it's a no. You think, oh, I don't want to upset that person or whatever. And salespeople don't like to upset people. They like making people happy and bringing them on board. But when you realize that actually by upsetting them, not by upsetting them, but by giving them the negative feedback actually helps them. And in the long run, they will really appreciate it. I think it's really important. It's very difficult when you don't get feedback from a client, because you get a sorry, it's a no. You have to relay that message on. But you can continue to work with the person. You can look at what you felt they could improve on. and then offer them further guidance as best as you can. There's only so much time in the day, so you can't do it with every single person you speak with. But as I say, I think we do go above and beyond where we can, as much as we can. Certainly.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of the aftercare service, I think, is probably the best way of describing that, I think. And I think it's second to none personally. But yeah, Gerard, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure and great to catch up again. Before we come to an end on this episode, is there anything you would like to add or any advice you could give to anyone currently looking for a job post-pandemic?
So what I've been saying to a lot of people, I suppose a big one, there's quite a few people who have had several jobs during the pandemic because it's been tricky. Yeah. I think on a CV, reduce it to a one line, 4 times temporary roles during the COVID pandemic, 2019 to 20, leave it at that. There's no point in putting them all. It looks disjointed. It looks like you popped, even though you haven't. And companies shouldn't see it like that, but they will. So change that. I always bang on about keywords in CVs. Treat your CV like it's a website. If you want people to find your website, you need to have the right keywords on it. So if you want people to find you for a job, what are the keywords people are going to search for to find that CV? If it's a sales job, it's business development, sales, client meetings, cold calling, telesales, business, all of those things, pitches, tenders. Get those keywords in your CV. Even if you haven't done the experience, you could say you're looking to learn it, or it's something you're interested in business and really keen to find a career in business development, because it will pull you up at the top of the pile. And persist, and also be picky. Choose the right thing, because it's better for you and for the client in the long term. If you find something you don't like, it's costly for the client. It's not going to be great for you. Appreciate there's a need to find work, but also, if you can be picky, I definitely encourage it all the time.
Definitely. So Lighthouse personnel guide their customers in the right direction on their recruitment journey. Visit their website, www.lighthousepersonnel.co.uk, to view their latest job opportunities. To discuss a potential vacancy, get in touch with their team on 01206 984 042 or email team@lighthousepersonnel.co.uk. Now, it just gives me great pleasure to thank Gerard for coming on. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gerard Francis, thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
So that's it for this episode of People Behind Brands. I'd love to hear from you all, so if you want to get in touch, follow us on our social media platforms. If you like what you heard, please rate and subscribe to our exclusive content now. Join us next time for a brand new guest on the podcast as we explore yet more life lessons from the world of business. We'll see you soon. Ta-da!